Good evening, Beruchim Habayim Rabotai. Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. Tonight's class was sponsored Leilu Nishmat Avner Ben Malka Tei Nafsho Tzura B'Tzor HaChaim Began Eden Aliyam with all the tzaddikim and chasidim. Amen ve'amen. Thank you, tzaddik. So, for those of you who were away last weekend, I hope you had a nice fireworks, and I hope the fireworks weren't between you and your spouse. A lot of people went on vacation and came back, in Besdin, so. Let's learn a Gemara. Let's see where it goes. Maybe we can get something nice tonight. The Gemara is Masechet Bava Batra Daf Tet Zayin. It's a long Gemara. The Gemara talks about all different things around one theme. Iyov. The Gemara over there says, and we're not going to learn the whole Gemara because that would take a bunch of hours, but we're going to pick out pieces that have to do with what we want to speak about. The Gemara over there says that the Satan came to God and he said, Borei Olam, Amar lefanav Ribono shel Olam, Shatti b'chol ha'olam, I went touring, floating around in the whole world, V'lo matzati k'avdecha Avraham, I didn't find anybody as righteous as Abraham Avinu. She'amarta lo, what makes him so righteous? That you told him, Kum hitalech ba'aretz le'orka u'le'rochba, go to the land to its length and width, ki lecha etnena, because I'll give it to you. U'b'sha'ah shebikesh lekvor et Sarah, meaning Borei Olam promised Abraham Avinu the entire Eretz Yisrael. And he comes to bury his own wife, lo matzah makom lekovra, he has no place to bury her. The whole land is his, but in his own place. He doesn't feel at home in his own home. V'lo hireh achar midotecha, and he didn't ask questions. How could this be, God? You promised me it's all going to be mine, and now I don't even have a place to bury my wife. It's not fair. So that's Avraham Avinu said. So the Satan told Borei Olam, you see from here, Avraham's the greatest person. Because if somebody sees what seems to be the opposite of what the reality is, and still doesn't ask questions on Hashem, so that's the greatest you could be. So Vayomer Hashem el Satan, Asamta libcha lavdi Iyov. You might be right that Abraham's great, but did you go check out my servant Iyov? He's also great. Ki ein kamo ba'aretz. There's nobody as great as him in the whole world. Ve'odenu machzik betumo. And then the Gemara continues, and it says the whole stories of what the Satan did to Iyov afterwards. And really a big part of it is what's called Yisurei Iyov in the terms of Chazal, the suffering of Iyov, which was the greatest level of suffering known to mankind. And really what Hashem was trying to tell him was, Avraham Avinu did struggle, and he did have tests, and it's true he didn't ask questions on Hashem, but Iyov had maybe even greater suffering, and he also didn't ask questions on Hashem, at least to a certain point, or in a certain way. And he accepted it to the point that Chazal clearly say, it's a pasuk, but Chazal explained it more, that he said, Hashem natan, Hashem lakach, Yishem Hashem mevorach, and all his losses in life, including his own kids. He said, God gave and God took, may God's name be blessed. But, later on in the Gemara, this was towards the beginning of the page. Towards the end of the page, the Gemara already goes into discussions that Iyov had with Borei Olam. And those were discussions already that Iyov started asking some sort of questions. It wasn't questions on God's actions. You have to learn this Gemara very carefully and cautiously with the Maharal's explanation on every line. But different questions on things. And Hashem was answering him one concept, and the concept is I don't make mistakes. I know what I'm doing, I don't make mistakes. And he was giving him different examples of that there's no confusion and no mistake in front of Hashem. And some of the examples that he gave him, one of the examples that he gave him was that there is an animal that when that the Gemara calls an ayalot, or yelet, that when it's pregnant and it has to give birth, it's korat laledet. It can't give birth because it doesn't have the ability because of the size of it, of the way its body is structured. And Hashem makes a nes, and there's a dalkon. Dalkon, Rashi writes, is a nachash, a snake, that comes and bites it exactly in the spot that it needs in order to be able to give birth. And that widens the area for this animal to be able to give birth. And that's how the baby falls out. And Hashem told the Yov, so the time that the snake should go bite the animal, exactly that, say, all that I can do. But to figure out your 3.5 problems I can't do, obviously there's a deeper reason behind it. That's like kind of the concept. Again, it's very watered down and said quickly behind this Gemara. By the way, this snake, if you look in Chazal, is a snake that normally has a strong venom, and when it bites, it kills. And it looks for prey of animals to survive as well. So it's a doubleness, really. It's not only that it bites it exactly in the right spot, exactly at the right time, that it also doesn't eat it. Because technically it should naturally look for the animal as its prey. That's what the Gemara says. And the Gemara's words are, "V'ilmalei magdim rega echad o ma'acher rega echad." If the snake would come to Darkon 1 second earlier, 1 second later, so we'd be in trouble, right? It wouldn't work. Miyad meita, immediately would die. Ben rega l'rega lo nitchalef li. Between 1 second to another, I wasn't confused, kavyachol. Ben Yov le'oyev, between you, Yov, le'oyev, thinking that I'm your enemy or you're my enemy, you think that I got confused with? And then the Gemara continues, by the way, more along these lines. Behind this Gemara is really the foundation of what I want to discuss in life tonight. To discuss how beautiful life is on a good day is the easiest thing to do. You're having a good day, what's the big deal? Yeah, life's beautiful. Shem, I love you, thank you, everything's beautiful. To discuss how beautiful life is and how much Hashem loves me on a bad day, that's when we start knowing what's going on with a person. Where's Emunah's holding? If everything's going good, to say Baruch Hashem, Bezrat Hashem, everything Hashem, of course, yeah, why not? It's convenient. Maybe there's an arrogant element of the human race that we don't want to give credit to what credit's due, so we resist a little bit giving credit to Hashem. But as a general concept, but when everything went wrong, at that moment to say nothing went wrong because this was Hashem's plan, that's really very hard. So I'm going to tell you something that I said just now on the way down, on the steps on the way down here. Somebody told me that his companion has whatever complaint about it, and right or wrong doesn't make a difference. And the agenda is a comparison. Look at your friend, whatever, he does it, is not like that. So first of all, the whole comparison thing is just disgusting, morbid, stupid, childish, and a lot of worse words that you can't say in a synagogue. But what do you answer such a person? So Chazal say, Anek silki valto. Answer a fool with their foolishness. But that's going to be counterproductive in a relationship, because then we're going to make the fire even worse. So I said the answer is very simple. I'm not willing to get into rights and wrongs when it stoops to such a low level. What I'm willing to say is, if Hashem wanted you to be like your friend, He would have created you, your friend. The fact that He created you, and your friend, means that He had a plan with that. There was a reason why that was done that way. It's not for no reason. So the comparison, by definition, is kfirah. It's atheism. And with atheists, I try to stay away. So we're not even talking about we're holding before everything. The second, it's a comparison, my life to somebody else's life, so that's it. Over there already, Hashem is out. I'm an apikoros. An apikoros, okay, so damash tashiv apikoros. We have to go learn Rambam a little bit and learn about faith. But what do you have to do with anybody else? And if Hashem wanted you to be like Him, He would have made you Him. And if He didn't make you Him, that means He doesn't want you to be like Him. probably the greatest pitfall of the Bnei Torah in today's generation, that Bli Ein Hara, this Bnei Torah that are tzaddikim and learning and doing unbelievable things, so the Yetzer Hara can't stand it, so he has to trap them with something. So what's he going to trap them with? He's going to tell them, go drive on Shabbat. They're going to throw him out of the door. It's not going to work. Go do this sin, that sin. They don't have such tests. It never crossed any Talmid Chacham's mind to light a cigarette Saturday afternoon. Just didn't even cross his mind. They don't have tests like that. So what does the Yetzer Hara do? He still has to get him. So he gets them by telling him, look at your friend, he's so much better than you. And then the guy starts feeling bad and giving up, and from there the road downwards is paved very quickly. What's the mistake in that? If Hashem wanted you to be him, he would have gave you his brain and his patience and his ability to sit for so many hours straight. The fact that he didn't give you his IQ is because he doesn't want you to be him. You have a different tafkid in this world. You have a different job in this world. That's not your job. Your job is to be you, not to be him. Rav Dessler used to tell the Talmidim on Rosh Hashanah before Tkiyat Shofar that what he wants from them most is that they should do tshuva on one subject. That they should stop copying him. Lichora, what's the problem with that? If anything's a great thing. They look up to their rabbi and they copy what he does. So he explained it to them. He said, when you're copying me, there's no you. And if there's no you, what's life worth? Don't copy me. You want to learn my ways and ask me why I do things, I'll explain you from the Torah where it comes, and at that point you'll do it because of you. But don't copy me. Hashem doesn't need robots in the world. That's the Judaism's case against cloning. If God wanted two of the same, he would have created it in the first place. We don't have to create it ourselves. Chazal say that even the drops of rain don't touch each other on the way down, because each one has an individual personality. So if a drop of rain doesn't touch each other, so a person, Hashem would make two people the same way? No, everybody's different. Chazal go on to say, Partzufehem shavim, that's what, Ein Partzufehem shavim, our faces don't look alike. Even with identical twins, there is medically whatever difference. Because again, robots we don't need. Now, if that's true, so then in every single detail of our life, to the good or the bad, the way we see it, good or bad, there is no bad, but the way we see it, good or bad, there's a Yad Hashem. There's a hand of God. The problem is it's hard to see. So what's the Eitzah? Not fancy, all the fancy words never got anybody anywhere. What's the simple, practical solution for a person to be able to see Hashem in everything? So of course it's to learn about Emunah and Chizuk, but today we have daily Emunah emails and daily this and daily that, and I don't know, maybe it's working, maybe not, but I don't see the Chovos HaLevavos walking around on the street. So maybe we have to go back a lot of years and look in the Rambam. The Rambam taught us the foundations of Emunah in the way that was relatable to everybody, and see what the Rambam's solution is. The Rambam writes a very interesting thing. We talk bonen b'niflaotav, and through seeing niflaotav b'weh, the wonders of God, to be intellectually honest, the Rambam is actually talking about nature, and that's why there's a mitzvah. If you're already, I'm not saying you should go on vacation, because that's an individual decision in each situation, but if you're already going on vacation, at least go to somewhere that has physical nature as opposed to going to Universal Studios. And we talk bonen b'niflaotav, you do a mitzvah. Through seeing niflaotav b'weh, so your heart is going to get closer to Hashem, and also you're going to start understanding that this is not something that man could have created, and it'll be a chizuk in emunah. No. But if we're going to spend our time vacationing all day, one day in the Grand Canyon, and the next day in Niagara Falls, and the third day in the Alps, and the fourth, so Eid's not going to be left, because we're never going to learn, and never going to daven, and never do anything productive. So obviously that's not the way. So what's the bonen b'niflaotav that we have on a day-to-day basis? So it splits into two parts. One part that we spoke about at great length about half a year ago, and that's paying attention to the miracles that God makes you individually in your own life on an hourly or daily basis. And so I don't want to go back down that road because you know it already. Tonight I want to take the extreme road. But people like extremes today because there's more emotion involved, more excitement involved. So even though it's kind of against my personality, but if it helps, no, what should we do? We got to do it. Sometimes this mitoch sheitbonen b'niflotav, through understanding and seeing the grandiose miracles that we still see until today, it's also a chizuk in emunah. When you see something that there's no way to explain, even if it's not in your own life, in your friend's life, in a stranger's life, in somebody that you know, no way to explain in a good way I'm talking about. It ends up giving a chizuk in emunah. You're like, wow, how could that be? By me, it was always a pele how there could be a doctor who births a woman who doesn't become a God believer instantly. I never understood that. You see niflaot haboreh all day long. You see the biggest pele in the world, man being created and man being born. He should be the biggest tzaddik instantly. Even a goy should be the biggest righteous Sheva Mitzvot Bnei Noach candidate. The answer is they get used to it. And that's why when you have a variety of different incidents that stand out in a big way, then it definitely gives a huge chizuk in emunah for a person and helps a person getting closer to Hashem. And that's why I think it's good when we read these Sfarim that have real sources, that have in them Sipurei Tzadikim and Sipurei Mofet and different things that are reliable, to give chizuk to people in emunah, because sometimes that is a tool that can later on be utilized to stay strong in what otherwise would be a weak moment. There is a risk factor in this system, I'll be objective, and the risk factor is that sometimes people ask, it seems like miracles happen to everybody but me. There is such a thing, there is such a musik. I get that question sometimes. All my friends have miracles, but I don't. Okay, there's answers, by the way. But that's an individual question, so we don't answer individual questions in public forums. But let's see, let's try and understand a little bit. So in this week's parasha, in Chutz La'aretz at least, so we learn about the beginning, Zot Chukat HaTorah, right, in the mitzvah Parah Adumah. Asher tzivah Hashem limor, daber b'nei Yisrael. Hashem says, talk to Klal Yisrael, v'ikchu elecha parah adumah tvima, asher im b'mum, asher lo ala alea ol. Something with a red cow, a red heifer, whatever you want to call it, without any blemishes. And lo ala alea ol, no yoke. And he never did any work. Comes Rashi and writes, because the Satan and the nations of the world make fun of the Jews. What type of mitzvah is this? And what reasoning does it have? It makes no sense, this mitzvah. What's the mitzvah Parah Adumah? You take a cow, you sacrifice it, you take the ashes that are burnt, and you spray it with water on somebody who's impure, and the person who's impure becomes pure, and the person who sprayed it, who was pure, becomes impure. That makes no sense. If I can make you pure, why did I become impure? So it's a mitzvah she'ein batam. It seems far-fetched. It doesn't, right? And a simple person doesn't understand it. And really, Chazal say clearly that nobody understood this. Nobody had a real explanation to Parah Adumah. Even Shlomo HaMelech said, "Amarti achakema v'hi rechoka mimeni." I thought I was smart. I said I'm very smart and I know everything. He knew everything. But v'hi, the mitzvah Parah Adumah, rechoka mimeni, was far. That's the part that I missed. That one I couldn't get. Nu, comes the Torah and comes Rashi and writes, Lefikach katav ba. That's why the Torah says chukah. It's a chok. Gzeira hi milfanai ve'in lecha reshut leharer achreya. This is my decree, and you have no right to look for explanations after it. Meaning you're not going to find one anyway. What does that mean? And why dafka this? Why not other things? So we're talking about somebody who becomes impure from met. Met is a tragedy, right? Somebody died. So tmei met, somebody who's a tmei met, who became impure from death, something that had to do with death. He's traumatized, otherwise known as post-traumatic stress disorder. And now I'm not saying this is pshat chas v'shalom. We don't know the pshat in mitzvah Parah Adumah. But there is, inside, when somebody loses a loved one, he's not happy about it. And if he is happy about it, he's psycho, right? Nobody's happy about the loss of life. Even an enemy's loss of life we're not happy about. When your enemy falls, don't be happy. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, that's already an impurity. Something's wrong. You become a Tmei Met. The idea of Met can make you a Tameh. Chazal teaches Gemara Brachot that really, when a person passes away, we should say Bracha Tov HaMeitiv. But being that we're not on that level, Tov HaMeitiv is that God is good and does good. But being that we're not on that level, that we don't understand that that's good, to us it looks like it's not so good. So we make a different blessing called Dayan HaEmet, the judge of truth. This is what the Gemara says. But B'yemot HaMashiach, you have to understand what that means, because really, technically, there won't be death. But the first 40 years, according to the Zohar, the world goes as regular, and there will be death still. So when a person dies, people are going to say, Tov HaMeitiv. Because at that point, there's no questions. Hashem's doing it for a good reason, for what we see as a good reason. It's always for the good reason. But at that point, even we understand it's a good reason. But what the beginning of Parashat Chukat is telling us is a goy says, if I don't understand something and it looks bad to me, so now I have questions. And a Jew says, if I don't understand something and it looks bad to me, the question's on me. We both have questions. But a goy has questions on God, and we have questions on ourselves. What am I doing wrong that I don't understand? Right? There's a fine line, remember that. By a goy, he has questions on Hashem. By a Jew, he has questions on himself. I said on Tuesday night by my Rebbe Shloshim that he used to always say over that Goyim, Lama Yomru Ba Goyim, why Goyim ask? But a Jew asks, Ma Hashem Doresh Mimach, what does Hashem want from me? So, there's a gentleman in Israel that I'm sure through his books that were, a lot of them were translated into English. You probably heard his name in one way or the other, or maybe even read some of his books. His name is Chaim Balder. Nice man who does a lot of good things for Jewish kids. Very nice man. So recently he put out another book, which I hope is also going to get translated emergency to English, because I think it would do a lot of well for a lot of people. It's not like one of his kid speaks and adult speaks and everybody venting about their problems in life. It's an interesting book. I bought it in Israel last week when I was there. It's called Nisim Mesaprim Al Atzmam, Miracles Talking for Themselves. I had my own little nest with this book that I'm going to share with you right now. I was supposed to be in Israel this week, not last week. But a very close friend of mine came to me and told me he wants to take me with him to Israel for a day. And before that, it ended up being 2 days actually. And then before that, he wanted me to go with him. That was his real reason, to Germany, to Kibbutz Tzadikim. He wanted me to go along with him. No. I'm a good Jew. No, I don't turn down a free trip. I said, let's go. It wasn't that free. There's nothing free in the world. Don't get excited. But, no, I don't turn down a friend, that's for sure. He said, let's go. So I said, we're going, no problem. So we went. Now, the plan originally was, we're going to go from New York to Germany. We're going to land in Frankfurt. We're going to go to the Baal Shem Michulstat's Kever, Rosh Chodesh. We'll pray. And the time that our plane lands was... there was no way to make a minyan in Frankfurt. Al pi halacha, somebody's yotzei l'derech, whatever, so you're not obligated at that point. It's a question if you're allowed to put yourself into that position l'chatchila, but the Maaseh, the poskim say you are. And we're going to go to this kever. And when we go to this kever, and after the kever, we'll go back to the airport. We had a couple hour layover, left over, and we'll wait for the next flight, and we'll continue to Israel, and then come back here. The night before we left, when we made the arrangements, so he tells me, let's make some phone calls to see, maybe we could find a minyan. I said, listen, I wish, but I'm there a lot, and I know which day of the week you could find what where. And especially now, it's tamuz, Rosh Chodesh tamuz, and the Chabad guys that are normally there all fly into 770 now. So we don't got them. I said, if you want, we could first land in Berlin, over there's a minyan, and then go to Frankfurt, but that makes the trip longer. We made some phone calls, we tried, he tried, I tried, there's no flight. There's no minyan that we could make at the time that it was working out with our schedule. But it came up in the conversation between us, the Chazal say, that, and the poskim bring it down by the way, that even if you don't have a minyan to pray in, at at least you should try to pray in Beit Hashem in a shul. Because the shul has Kedusha. Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu had Ta'anot on David HaMelech, why he didn't go to Beit Hashem. There's something to it. It's not stam. And many poskim bring it down. No. So we said if we can't pray with a minyan that morning, at least we should go to a shul to pray. So I told him, let's gain 2 for the price of 1. Let's go to a town in Germany called Worms, where Rashi grew up, and where Rashi's shul was, and we'll go daven in Rashi's shul. There won't be a minyan, but at least we'll pray there. At least that much. I said it's only another 60, 70 kilometers of driving, not the end of the world. We could do it. So he agreed. Not he agreed, he wanted it. He's a Ben Torah, he really wanted it. And I said, and why are we going to gain 2 for the price of 1? Because if we go there, then 2 minutes away from there, the Maharam Rothenberg's buried, and the Maharil, many tzaddikim are buried. We can go to another Jewish cemetery and put in another few extra prayers. Rashi's shul is not the authentic Rashi's shul. It was destroyed on Kristallnacht. It's rebuilt, it's replicated. The foundation might be real, I don't know, that could be argued historically, but it was replicated exactly, or as close to what we know, based on the sketches. But the spot is exact, and at least that. So there's kedusha to the place, right? The Beit HaMikdash is going to be built in the spot the other Beit HaMikdash was. One of the interesting things in that structure is that one of the walls is indented. It's not a straight wall, it's a wall that's indented. The wall's indented because it's a replication, and the original wall was indented. The reason why the original wall was indented is a very famous story. Those of you who read Jewish kid books, I'm sure you read it in one of the books. When Rashi's mother, who by the way lived in Friedberg at all, moved to Worms before she gave birth to Rashi. She was in an alleyway walking one day, and there was a government official who hated Jews, and he saw Rashi's mother. Rashi's mother was extremely wealthy. His father was a wealthy man. Later on, he gave away most of his money by throwing a diamond in the ocean, but at the beginning, at least, he was a very wealthy man. And he hated Jews, and he definitely hated successful Jews. That's not a new thing for today. Bernie Sanders is not the first. He's just copying what a bunch of anti-Semites did before him. And and what did he decide to do? He was riding his donkey, or whatever he was riding, and he said he's going to trample it to death. And he'll kill the lady and her child, a pregnant woman. So to him, it was like, what could be better? A shot. She sees this guy coming with the donkey towards her, and there's no way to run. The donkey's going to be faster and bigger. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know what to do. She turned towards the wall. Now that makes no sense. If you're pregnant, you turn towards the wall, that means you're going more into the alleyway, not less. Definitely at an advanced stage of pregnancy. And Hashem made a nest that the wall went in on a half a circle, and her stomach went in, and she was flat against the wall, and he went riding by with his donkey, and after he saw that, he got scared, and he stayed away from her. That was the nest that brought Rashi to this world. And the building, the structure that Rashi taught Torah in years later, was the same structure that had this story happening. Now there's historic arguments about the precision of the details of the story, but the concept's definitely true. So we were there, I showed it, over here is the wall, is the famous story, whatever, very nice. Then we were in Michelstadt, we davened, we did what we had to do, and we're on the way to Israel. On the way to Israel, when you travel with somebody, you have to pick who to travel with. I'll tell you what I mean. If you travel with somebody that he sleeps well on flights and you don't, that's the worst travel companion you could have. Because you have to have a real ayin tova, a real good eye. I don't care, business class, first class, private plane, doesn't make a difference. At the end of the day, you're in the air doing nothing, and he's puffing, and you're tired, and you can't fall asleep. But Baruch Hashem, my friend, has this talent. He could be sitting in the middle of the subway station and fall asleep. He closes his eyes and he's sleeping. God bless. Now I'm the opposite extreme. I have chronic insomnia. So we're flying to Israel, and he's puffing, and I'm awake. And I'm analyzing the day, and in a way I'm like happy. Worked out, we went, the Kibbutz Tzadikim, Rosh Chodesh, that. I'm making calculations for Mincha and Arvit in Israel, we should land in time, and make it to the Shul in Ben Gurion to pray with a minyan and that. And all this is going through my mind. And then, okay, that was a few minutes, then I got bored. Now I need what to do. So I took my carry-on to take out the sefer that I thought I brought with me to learn. It's not there. Now what happened to the sefer, honestly, I don't know, because I normally don't leave the house without a sefer. So either, I think I forgot it on the previous flight. That's what happened for sure, because I had it on the previous flight. That's what must have happened. So I made myself like a mental note that when I get to Israel, the first thing I'm going to do, if time allows, meaning store-wise, that they're open, is to go buy a replacement sefer that I should have. It didn't work out the night that we landed because it was already too late. By the time we were done Mincha and that, the stores were closed that were near our hotel. But the first thing the next morning, after Shacharit, I went to buy a sefer. Once I already bought a sefer, I actually bought two. And then I see Chaim Valda put out a new book. Now I don't buy all his books, honestly, because most of them is not subjects that I'm interested in, even though I hear they're very good. But when I saw this sefer called Nisim, whatever, I said, you know what, this is exotic. Let me see, I like exotic books. Let me see what we got going on over here. Now, I want to tell you a trick detail to the story. When we were flying to Israel, so by the Hasidim, when they go to a grave or whatever it is, or after Shana Kippur, they wish each other, Hashem should help that you po'el in Shamayim good things. So one of the things that was going through my mind is I wish today we had a way to see signs from Hashem if He's happy with what we did. I think about this a lot, by the way. It's not the first time this crossed my mind. I wish, if a person davens at Tehillim, did a mitzvah, said a shir, whatever it is he did, gave tzedakah. If you could see some sign from Hashem, I'm proud of you. A kid does a good thing and his mother tells him he's proud of him, the odds of him doing a good thing the next day are so much higher. So if you could, if Hashem tells, if we could live that feeling of Hashem saying, I'm giving you your stamp of approval, so maybe. Fine. I didn't share this thought with anybody because to most people, they don't think this way. Next day I go into the bookstore, I buy these two Sfarim and this book. And that night, when we're back in the hotel, again, he's sleeping and I'm awake. And, okay, but at least now there's something to learn. So it's not so bad. And I but the Yitzhak always mixes in, and he's not going to let you take a sefer first. So I take the book first. And I open the book randomly, and I said, let me read any random story, and by one, I'll get the gist of it if it's worth reading the next or not. You can always tell in an author one story right away if you want to continue reading that book or not. Now, by the way, I'll teach you the trick of Jewish books, at least. I think this is in all books. You never read the first story of a book, because an author always puts his best story at the first, and his second to best story to last. So that's not an indicator to anything. I actually didn't learn this from books, I learned this from Safrut. When I buy Megillot Esther for people, so when the Sofer gives it to me to look at, I never look at the first page. I always look at somewhere towards the end, the second to the last, third to the last page. And they always look at me like I'm nuts. What are you rolling it up for? I said, it's very simple. Why? I'm not stupid. The Halacha says that you don't have to write a Megillat Esther in order, from beginning to end. It's not like a mezuzah that you got to write in order. You can write it backwards also, as long as you wrote it. I said, now the more practice you have, the nicer your writing is. The nicer your writing is, the more you could sell your mezuzah for. So what do most Sofrim do? They write the last prakim first, and then they write the first prakim. I says, I don't want to check your strong point, I want to check your weak point to see if I can deal with it or not. I was like, same thing with books. When I want to see a book, a story in a book, or a chapter in a book, whatever it is, I always randomly open somewhere and see what's going on based on that. Then I know, might have been even on a bad day of the author. So that's what I did with this book, and I want to share with you the story that opened up in the nest that I had. I opened up the book, and the story is titled in Hebrew, Nes Bli Pirush Rashi. A miracle without Rashi's commentary. I'm coming straight from thinking on a plane after going to Rashi's Beis Medrash. If Hashem wanted that or not. But it's an interesting story. And it's extremely important for the skeptics in the room to hear this story very well. This might answer a lot of problems that people have in life. Kola guy, it seems like, based on the story. I don't know. Chaim Vald is pretty careful. He checks his facts in general. So I'm giving you roughly what he wrote. Again, it might not be exact, but more or less. This guy one day he's 35 years old and he didn't get married yet. Finally, whatever, starts working out, and he finds a girl and gets married. He was a good boy, learned, did everything, Yirei Shamayim, had everything working for him like in Judaism, in the right way, except for one thing. He was a skeptic. Skeptic on what? Chas Shalom, Torah, he believed 100% everything. When people would say over stories about tzaddikim and miracles that happen with tzaddikim, things like that, he would make fun. He'd be like, come on. Like, maybe, it's exaggerated. There are people like that. Fine. So he says that before he got married, this happened, or maybe right after he got married, I don't remember, but in the period of his marriage, one day he was with a bunch of his friends, and they were talking about different things, stories of tzaddikim, I don't know why, but whatever it was that they were talking about, he wasn't really part of the conversation because this wasn't something that interested him, but he was hearing it. And somebody said over this story with Rashi's mother. And he responded, do you guys really believe that? The wall went in, this, exactly, that's what she was saying. He said, the story makes no sense. If the guy wanted to kill her, he would have came back and killed her afterwards. He made fun. That's all he did, he made fun. Fine, his friends told him, a little faith in tzaddikim and in Nisim and Hashem wouldn't hurt. He said, I have faith in everything, but this is already stupidity. This is not, this is nothing. Adkan. Gets married, or he is married, whatever, he has Shat Tova, his wife gets pregnant, he has a daughter. Big Simcha, he was 35, he waited up, he has a kid. It's a happy moment for him, very happy moment for him. He says that he turned the kid into his whole life. His whole life changed. That was like the focal point of his life afterwards. His morning, his afternoon, his night, everything revolved around his daughter. It's a good thing, by the way. He says the kid was like a little under 2, and somebody gave him an interesting idea. Now I'll tell you the truth, I've been meaning since I read this about a week ago to look into the psychological end of this, because it makes a lot of sense in the research papers, but I never got a chance to. If this coming week I do, I'll update you on that. But somebody gave an idea when it comes to helping a child develop at a more sophisticated level. What was the idea? They said when a kid starts speaking or talking about different things or learning about different things, instead of them just knowing it from theory, take them to places that they could actually see it in reality and relate to it. Like this, from a young age, the kid learns to adapt and relate to things on a much more intense level. Logically, it makes a lot of sense, by the way, but I don't know what the studies are about this. So his examples are, for example, if he read his daughter before she went to bed at night some kid's book that was talking about horses, so in the next couple of days he'd try to find a place that had a horse and take her and show her, that's a horse that we read about in the book. Or if you read about it, and each time he would try, to bring the theory to something that she can actually, to something tangible to her. I think there's a chokhmah to that. Again, the medical end, I'm sure there's tons of research papers on this, I just have to look them up. He says one day, he wanted to take her to see planes, airplanes. Again, for the same reason, because they were studying about, that she read some story about a plane, whatever, he wanted to see planes. Now, over here, we just heard a plane going over. But over here, to see planes is no big deal. But in Israel, Ben Gurion has this whole complex built around it purposely for security reasons, because unfortunately we need it. So there's no place that you could really just drive up to and park and watch planes, because that wouldn't exactly be safe. Because the wrong people would be watching the wrong planes for the wrong reasons. So that don't fly in Ben Gurion Airport. So, but yeah, Israelis are curious, and Israeli kids are entitled to watch planes. So there are a few areas in Lud, and there's different, that have these like parks or parking spots or whatever, that are far enough from the airport that security-wise is safe. And people can park their cars there and go out, and you see the planes at a much higher altitude, and that's obviously gauged based on safety concerns. But that's the arrangement. It's an official arrangement in Israel. And every Israeli will validate this. They all know about this. Or at least anyone who likes airplanes. He says he takes his daughter to one of these parks in the car, and it's an exciting outing. He said every outing that I took out my daughter, to me, was a whole excitement. He said that day his wife wasn't able to come with him. He went alone. And it's him and his daughter in the car. And he finds like what seems to be the perfect spot. And he takes out he parks the car or whatever. He takes out his daughter from the car. And and then he says it's a hot day, so he doesn't want to sit with her in the sun. So he puts her near a tree.
Okay.
And he's going to
found this on the web.
Wow, my thing is talking. Phones, interesting. It's validating my story. She found it on the web, Siri. Anyway, so he puts her down in the shade, whatever, and he's going to sit with her in the shade. He says as he's sitting with her, a few seconds later, he sees that his car that he parked a little further up is moving. But not moving as in driving, it's like slowly rolling. And he realizes what must have happened is he didn't put the car in park. He must have pushed it up and only got the neutral. Now where's it rolling? It's rolling in the direction of him and his daughter. Now, I don't know why he made this weird judgment call. The judgment call should have been, let the car go and run away. But for some reason, his judgment was that it's rolling so slowly that he's going to run up to the car and somehow stop it or divert it. And that's what he tried to do. It didn't work out so well. He left his daughter by the tree. When running, all this is happening in a matter of a few split seconds. And tries to go up to get into the car to do what he got to do. And doesn't make it to the car. And the car goes right by him and right to the tree. And he already subconsciously was waiting to either hear the scream or to hear the deathly silence. He knew that it's over. He sees the car hit the tree where his daughter's sitting. Shalom Neda. This week, a Jewish guy, a Rebbe from Virginia, drowned trying to save one of his students. His neshama is in the highest place in Gan Eden. He was Moshe Nefesh for his own students. But these poor students that had to see their Rebbe drown like that, Hashem should help. I don't think they found the body yet. They should find the body, and that at least there should be something. Halavai should be a nes. He's alive. Maybe what I'm saying is wrong, and that's why I'm not scared to say it. Because by the way, in Chazal it says if you call somebody dead who's alive, it's a zgul ala yichut yami. So maybe that'll be a zgul of him. But realistically, I'll be derech hateva. At least that much. But a father to see his kid die in front of his eyes. In Israel, these things happen. Shalom Nida. Shalhevet Pas was shot in her mother's arms. Shem yinkom dama b'mira. By a terrorist who was later on let free, I think, by the way. Who would think that a terrorist can kill a 10-month-old baby in his mother's arms and then they would consider letting him go? Unreal. Sick. Sick. All in the name of liberals. But he's scared to even look. But you got to see what's going on and you got to call for help, one way or the other. You either got to call an ambulance or a Chevra Kadisha, but one or the other you're going to have to call now. So he goes running down behind the car to get hold of his daughter, to see what's going on and to call for help simultaneously. And this is all happening in a split of a second. And he sees a Dvar Pele, and a crazy thing. First, as he's right by his daughter, he hears his daughter crying. That's already a ness, she's alive. Then he sees that not his car is damaged, and not the daughter is hurt. But the car hit the tree where his daughter was sitting. Now that makes no sense. Now we've heard of miracles, but even miracles have to make sense. So in the book there's a picture, you could see it if you want afterwards. Turns out that the daughter was sitting against the bark of a tree. It was had a circular growth. And the car hit the top part of it, and that's why it stayed back and left enough space for her to stay alive. And it didn't hit it that hard because it wasn't that far of a ride, so it didn't even get damaged. And he said the first thing that came to his mind before he even grabbed his daughter out and called for help, to get his car out and to calm the situation down, was, why did I make fun of the story of Rashi's mother? Unbelievable story. Wild. And this was the first story that I randomly read in the hotel after asking myself, what does God think about my trip to Rashi's Beis Medrash? Unreal. So do we see Nisim in this world? We see Nisim. Do we see Ad Hashem in this world? We see Ad Hashem. Do we see it every second of the day? We see it every second of the day. Now the question is, do you want to see it or not? Some people voluntarily opt not to see it. So if you voluntarily opt not to see it, okay, can't help you, what should I do? But if you have an ounce of a brain and you're willing to do anything in somewhat of a rational way, so you do see it. You do see Ad Hashem. So why are you playing a blind eye? And this is where I want to conclude. I promise, 10 o'clock, I'm a good boy from now on. That's it, I'm sticking to this. That's why I had my phone, and it wasn't my phone. I'm just not wearing a watch this week, so my phone's my watch. We all need Nisim. And we don't daven for miracles, but everything's a miracle, so we're really davening for everything. And everybody in his way needs a lot to work out in his life, and it would be nice quicker than later. And you know what Hashem says? He don't say no. He actually says yes. Yeah, I'll do it for you. No problem. I want to do it for you. I'll do it for you and I want to do it for you. But he also says another detail. Don't ruin it. If you don't believe it could happen, or if you don't believe it's going to happen, it won't happen. And one of the first indicators of seeing if you believe it could happen or not is how you respond to when you hear a story of an is. If you respond in awe and it brings you chizuk and closer to Hashem, so then you're a person who's going to accept nisim, so Hashem makes you nisim. But if you respond with a cynical, skeptical, can't be, could be, whatever, then Hashem answers you exactly the same way. He's like, you don't believe it could happen, so why should it happen to you? If you don't believe it could happen, so why should it happen to you? You don't think so I don't think so either. It's an unbelievable thing. This is a big yisod. And this is not only in the big things, and I want to stress this over and over and over again as many times as I can until we get it into our head. Rav Nachman writes clearly that our greatest mistake in the world is that we think we need Hashem in the big things in life, but in the small things we don't need Him. And his example is, if somebody's missing a button, it's a button, big deal, I can get a tailor to sew it on. I don't need God for that. And Nachman says, that's kfira. For Hashem, a button, and to make a sick person healthy and to make a dead person come alive is all the same thing. There's no difference because Hashem is Ein Sof. So you need Hashem just as much for the worst thing, for the greatest, in your eyes, miracle, to the tiniest thing. And therefore, Sheyesh Shem Shamayim Al Lipchat Tamid, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should always be with you. Hashem has to live and dwell with you in every second, because in everything in life, you need the Rebbeinu Shalom. You need the Yad Hashem. You need whatever it's going to be that's going to make things work out for you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help, that we should see God's grace and His mercy and His blessing in every way. B'chol anshei lifnei naskil v'natzliach. Amen. Keni ratzon. Bruchim tiyu Hashem.